Another Bendy and the Ink Machine theory? You betcha! Hey yo prodigies, ProdCharles here. Something that's been driving Bendy and the Ink Machine fans mad since Chapter 3 was released is the identity of Alice Angel. Many people think that Alice Angel is Susie Campbell, so let's look at all of the hints and clues that the game gives us and try to come to an answer. Just before we begin, if you're new, remember to subscribe and tap that bell for more cool and interesting Bendy and horror game videos. And if you can't watch this video all the way through right now, remember to tap Add To and select Watch Later to save your progress. Or just do it for fun. Let's start with what we know. We know that Alice Angel in the Bendy cartoons was voiced by Susie Campbell. We also know that Susie Campbell was replaced by Alison Pendle as the voice actress for Alice Angel. Alice Angel has many features of a split personality, including a split in her face and a dual-toned as well as a fluctuating tone of voice while speaking. And finally, Alice is trying to collect the hearts of perfect 3D cartoons to become the perfect Alice Angel. Got all those facts? Now let's bring it all together. We found out in Chapter 2 that Alice Angel is voiced by Susie Campbell, who at the time was only working for Joey Drew for 2 months. According to Susie, Samuel Lawrence says that Alice would be as popular as Bendy someday. She also mentions that she has a strong spiritual connection with Alice to the point where it feels as if Alice is a part of her. And this would suggest that the Alice Angel that was brought to life in Chapter 3 is in fact Susie Campbell. However, we discover that Susie Campbell was to be replaced as Alice Angel by another voice actress by the name of Miss Alison Pendle, and without notice. When Susie found out, she said a part of me died when he said that, and that there's gotta be a way to fix this. It was as if her connection with Alice was permanently cut, and she was driven to have her role returned to her at all costs. If Susie Campbell would no longer voice the part of Alice Angel, how would she be able to play any part in Joey's crazy rituals to become Alice in the first place? To answer this, we need to know a few important things about Joey Drew and how this ties in with Susie's quest to fix things. Joey Drew is a strong advocate of believing in your dreams to make them come true. His audio recording in the Demon Path from Chapter 3 suggests this, and he is obsessed with it to the point where he considers cheating death.
Wishing for the impossible is just human nature. That's how I got started. Just a pencil and a dream. Why, with enough belief, you could even cheat death itself.
Hints of this obsession are even revealed in one of Susie Campbell's recordings, where she says that Joey calls her Alice, indicating that he already has some kind of plan in mind to actually transform Susie into Alice as part of his experiment to achieve eternal life. How do we know this for sure though? Earlier in the recording, Alice mentions that she learned times were tougher than she thought at the studio after having lunch with Joey Drew. We've had a hint towards Joey being a big spender in another recording featuring his accountant, Grant Cohen. In the recording, he says that Joey has a top secret project planned, and he mentions it wouldn't be cheap. Given this conversation with Susie and that Joey is obsessed with making dreams a reality, especially with his silly thought of eternal life, as well as Joey being a big spender with a top secret project going so far as to install an ink machine with an extensive ink pipe network throughout his studio, it is highly likely that Joey Drew used Susie Campbell as an expendable test case. Remember that Susie said that she wanted to fix being replaced as the voice of Alice Angel, so all of this evidence suggests that she probably did everything that she could to get Joey's attention, resulting in her becoming a pawn in his quest for eternal life. But why would Joey do this? In Sean Flynn's recording, we learn that Alice Angel merchandise wasn't selling to the point where it would have to be melted down to be disposed of, so it was clear to Joey that Alice was not a popular character and either needed to be reinvented or scrapped. Interestingly, Thomas Connor's recording suggests that Joey Drew cuts corners in areas where he doesn't see that much importance, such as the elevator system being faulty, and he gives easy band-aid solutions when it comes to repairing the ink pipes, which were in very bad condition. This suggests that instead of being sent back to voice useless characters such as dancing chairs and talking chickens, it would be more cost-effective if Susie Campbell would be used to help Joey cheat death. In the end, Joey would give Susie exactly what she wanted, transforming her into the cartoon she so badly wanted to voice again for the rest of her now eternal life. Or so that's what we would think at first glance. Prodigies, our work is not done yet. There are 2 main points getting in the way of this theory. 1. the voice of Alice Angel in Chapter 3 is not Susie Campbell's. Take a look at the credits for a moment. We can see that there are only 2 female voice talents listed here. Alana Lanier, who we learned in Chapter 2 is the voice of Susie Campbell, and Lauren Singer. Lauren Singer is listed at the top of the voice talent, suggesting that her voice had an even bigger part to play in the game than even the Meatleys, and he voiced several characters. The only person who could possibly have spoken this much is Alice Angel, who gives dialogue all the way through Chapter 3, rather than on isolated tape recordings or short lines like the other characters. If the voice of Susie Campbell did not voice Alice Angel, unless it was some kind of strange meta occurrence where a swap in the voice actors for Susie happened in real life, someone or something else is representing Alice Angel's 3D form. And then we have 2. Alice Angel speaks out to Susie in one of her lines of dialogue, where she says, some prodigies have suggested that Alice has an intense split personality disorder, as indicated by her dual-toned and fluctuating voice, coupled with her having a combination of 2 halves of different faces. One of her personalities in this case would be much more aggressive than the other, and may indicate that one is speaking to the other. Considering that Alice Angel was also voiced by Alison Pendle, it would make sense that they both occupy Alice Angel's body, and are in a constant fight with each other for control, but more on this later. Let's consider point 1 for a moment. Provided that another voice actress was not hired to help voice Susie Campbell, and that the voice of Alice Angel is not the voice of Alana Lanier, then it would be sensible to suggest that this voice belongs to Alison Pendle or some kind of new entity. This makes the most sense when you consider that Alice addresses Susie in her dialogue and recalls memories of being praised by Sammy Lawrence, as Alison may have had experiences with Susie joking about Joey's addiction to dreams coming true. Alison would also have worked closely with Sammy, who would have butted her up to make Alice Angel's performance better. We also have to consider that when Alice Angel mentions sacrificing the cartoons to achieve perfection, she says, considering that Susie was becoming closer to Joey and learned more about his plans for her in the studio, she may have picked up some power as a consequence and swayed some of his decisions. And instead of Susie becoming a test sacrifice to become Alice, Alison would instead. After all, who would want to be the test case? As a result, this may be the she that Alice Angel refers to, as Susie would have then ordered Alice to piece herself back to perfection, perhaps in an attempt to prepare the Alice Angel vessel for herself if she still wanted to become her. However, there are 2 main problems with this. One is that while we come across evidence of Susie warming up to Joey Drew, we do not know for sure that she was promoted by him in any way. The closest evidence that we have is Joey Drew's audio recording, where he makes it clear that he respects working to achieve dreams. Joey may have seen this sudden and consistent passion from Susie despite her losing the role of Alice Angel, and promoted her to help in his rituals and allow for this scenario to happen. This would fall in line with there being 2 paths in the game: the angel and the demon path. One a room full of Alice Angel themed items such as cutouts and posters, and the other a room flooded with ink, both potentially explaining or foreshadowing a huge conflict between Alice and Bendy, or Susie and Joey Drew should they have butted heads in future chapters. And I'm sure we've all seen those juicy end screens that tease chapter 4. Then there's the matter of Alice being another entity altogether. If she is another entity, then she may be one of the gods that Joey is trying to appease, but this falls through when you consider that Ink Bendy scares her. Unless there is some kind of power hierarchy among the gods, this is harder to prove. Phew, that was actually quite a lot to take in. Congratulations on making it this far, and have some adorable floopy snoots to help you recharge. It's time to tackle the second case, the one of Alice having split personalities. Are you ready? Let us now consider the split in Alice's voice, appearance, and personality. If Susie Campbell actually swayed Joey Drew to the point where he caved and allowed Susie to participate in his rituals, he may have gotten Alison Pendle in on it as well, as one of Susie Campbell's voice recordings mentions that Joey calls her Alice after explaining the poor financial conditions at the studio, which all hints towards his quest to achieve eternal life. This might actually be the case. Eventually, this would result in the souls of Susie and Alison occupying the ink that forms Alice Angel, leading to a vengeful Susie constantly fighting against the submissive Alison Pendle, who tries to get a word in only every now and then, all to hog the spotlight. However, we need to take into account that the Alice Angel that we see in chapter 3 might just be imperfect, physically and mentally, and with good reason. Alice Angel has a rotting body and constantly needs to hoard the hearts of perfect cartoons produced by the ink machine to prevent herself from returning to an inky abyss. If she touches tainted ink, it could mean the end of what should have been a limitless life.
Crawl in here. my door. It couldn't touch me. It couldn't pull me back.
Do you know what it's like living in the dark puddles?
Given this, our options become limited to the first case that we discussed earlier. What do you think? I think that without hearing a recording of Alison Pendle's voice, it's difficult to come to a decision. If Susie Campbell's voice really does go through such a drastic change when becoming Alice Angel, as per some kind of change in Susie's voice actress, or just in the versatility of her voice actress's style, then it's sensible to suggest that it is Susie. If Susie isn't Alice, then it must be Alison Pendle or some kind of other entity or character that we haven't been introduced to. The only other female mentioned in the game so far is Linda, and considering that Henry hardly gets time to see her, it's unlikely that she worked for Joey Drew. It's really mysterious, isn't it? Keep the mystery going with these videos, which were picked just for you. Take a look and get hooked, and if you're new, tap my face to subscribe and tap that bell for more cool and interesting Bendy and horror game videos. And Prodigies, I hope that these videos help to expand on how you think, so it helps with your thinking in your daily lives. See ya!